So let's get into our final movie that we're talking about today. This one is also book based, but in a much looser sense. And it's also a musical remake of another iconic movie, and that's Mean Girls.
Yeah.
So it's not up for any Oscars because it's a 2024 movie, but it's obviously doing great at the box office. And we've just seen it in theaters recently. So you're a fan of musicals. I'm sure we're both a fan of the 2004 Mean Girls, I
Yeah.
hope. So how do you feel about this new one?
I enjoyed it. I sometimes it's interesting cuz when I hear other people's reviews, like I can be influenced, but sometimes I'm influenced to agree with them, but then other times cuz I've seen a lot of people criticize the new Mean Girls, like different movie reviewers I watch. And so I feel like maybe because some people are hating on it, it makes me like it even more in some ways. But I had a fun time watching it. I mean, I prefer the 2004 cast overall, but I enjoyed this one. And again, the music, I haven't listened to it at home since seeing the movie, but in the moment, I enjoyed it. And I liked the performances, and I felt like for the most part, they did a good job at making these characters their own, which would be super hard because the movie is so iconic. So it would be hard not to have the original person in your mind. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, if anything, that's kind of my biggest complaint with this movie is was it a little too soon to make another one just because it's kind of in the shadow of that movie. It's just
Yeah.
I don't
Well, it has
like
been 20 years, which is kind of a long time. It's crazy. It's been 20 years, but so yeah, I don't know like how long should you wait to do a remake? I guess it's hard to
right.
say, but and also
But
I heard other people say that they weren't sure like if this was marketed towards the people who saw the original when it came out, then they were saying they should have made changes to like make it more adult in a way, but it's so it seemed like who was the target audience here? Like is it fans of the original movie who are now like full-grown adults, or is it targeted towards the current generation? But
I feel like yeah, the majority of people going to this movie probably go in knowing all the quotes or and so on
yeah.
from the other movie. I feel like that's the majority of people buying tickets to this movie. Either you watched the movie and you loved it, or you that plus you loved the musical. I just feel like yeah, like especially even if this wasn't a remake, like this is a high school musical comedy, it would still have the target audience of people who like movies like Mean Girls or Clueless and so
Hmm.
on. And it's interesting you bring up the marketing because I actually saw this someone saying that marketing films as musicals like doesn't test as well after like In the Heights and West Side Story doing less good at the box office. So now with Mean Girls, The Color Purple, and Wonka, they try to show less of the singing in the
Hmm.
trailers, which whatever. Definitely a lot of the music in this one is solid. It's enjoyable. Who was
And
the
everybody
highlight for
has
you in
they all have fantastic voices too.
yeah, who was the highlight for you in the cast?
I definitely liked Renee Rapp a lot. And then I forget her name, but the actress who plays Janice I thought was really
Yeah.
good. Which and I love again, I Lizzie Kaplan. Like she's fantastic in the 2004 movie. But yeah, I love this new actress as well. And then I guess those two. Oh, also Damien, the guy who plays Damien. I thought he was
Yeah, he's
fantastic.
great.
Yeah, so those three would probably be the standout. I felt like the girl who plays Gretchen, she was just kind of okay. And then
Right.
same with the girl who plays Karen. She was good, but she definitely wasn't as funny as Amanda Seyfried. And I felt like Amanda
Yeah.
Seyfried, she was very believable in that role. Like you believe she was as stupid as she seemed. Whereas this new actress, like you could tell she was acting. So even if she was good, it wasn't like I was believing it, quite as much.
Yeah, because I've seen the first one like a couple years ago, and I feel like a lot of the cast members, like Angourie Rice, is really good. It's she's kind of playing it a similar way that Lindsay Lohan would. She's again a terrific choice to play Katie, but I feel like besides the singing, she didn't bring anything too much. Renee Rapp, I think her singing was incredible.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like sometimes when she was like "Get In, Loser," or when she was doing all the similar things, it felt just Rachel McAdams is so iconic that it's hard to escape that shadow. So I
Yeah.
can't say it's Renee Rapp's fault at all. But I always say this. I think the biggest improvement, maybe the only improvement on the 2004 movie, is Auli'i Cravalho as Janice. I personally think
Yeah.
she's better than Lizzie Kaplan, and just she's in it more. And I just think every time she does anything, or especially when she sings, I mean, if you've seen Moana, you know she can
Yeah.
sing.
Yeah.
But like, I just thought the way she played her character, it was like that level of an actor's having so much fun that it bleeds over to the audience. Um,
Hmm.
so every time she was singing, it just felt really effortless. And like you said, the guy who played Damien, I don't remember him too much in the original anymore, but this guy was so funny. He always had
Yeah.
some really like audacious one liner to throw in and make every situation kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I think if I heard or if I remember correctly, the guy from the original movie, Mean Girls, had been like one of his first movies, whereas this new guy, I think he's played Damien on stage. So he definitely is familiar with the role, so it makes sense that he was better because he has more experience.
Renee Rapp was Regina George on stage too,
Yeah.
at a point, which
Hmm.
is cool because I didn't really know her from anything before. I think this might be her first movie,
Yeah.
but now she's like she wrote a song for the credits. She wrote the first song in this movie, which is one of the only songs that's not in the musical. Um, and she wrote the song for the credits, and now she's like making SNL appearances.
Yeah.
So she's right away a breakout star,
Yeah.
which is cool to see. I feel like when it comes to this movie and having watched the original, I feel like this is a case of like this is probably a fantastic time like as a stage musical where you take a movie people love and turn it into songs, which again we've seen that now with The Color Purple. They did it with Matilda. I feel like we'll eventually get this movie as well, but they did a musical version of School of Rock, which I've seen on Broadway and I loved.
Oh.
um, but I feel like with this one it's like so much of the original movie is like if it ain't broke don't fix it. There's so many of the
Yeah.
same quotes that we love, like it's October 3rd. And even you got
Yeah.
Tina Fey coming back. She wrote the script again. Tim Meadows reprising his role.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of it just sort of plays the same way. So I still had a fun time with the songs and the actors, but I don't know if like it gave enough yet to the cinematic element of this movie, especially because I think if you watch the 2004 one now, it still feels really modern and it has
Yeah.
like, a lot to say. And I think the only one that this one adds to that is TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, the 2004 movie, I probably hadn't seen it in like 10 years, but I rewatched it in preparation for the video I did, and it still holds up so well, and it's still just so funny and so clever. There is a storyline where we have the gym teacher, it's found out that he's having sex with students, which seems so out of place in that movie, and they kind of toss it in there, and it's almost like a joke. And so the new
Wait, is
movie
this in
gets
a
rid of that.
2004 movie?
Yeah.
I
So
don't
that
even
was
remember this.
Yeah, so that didn't age well. So I liked that, the 2024 movie gets rid of that aspect of the story at least.
Yeah, so John Hamm is the gym teacher here. I kind of wish he had more to do, even though there's
Yeah.
already a lot going on. But it's like you got John Hamm, let him like go crazy.
Yeah,
I
he's
would
not
say
in very much.
Yeah, I would say Amy Poehler was really good as Regina George's mom, but Busy Phillips is really good. She's basically playing it as if she's like Regina George Senior,
Yeah.
um, and she's kind of like grooming her daughter into how much of a spoiled brat she is, and she even like
Yeah.
does TikToks like "cool mom," whatever. And I thought Avantika was honestly really good as Karen. Probably not as
Yeah.
good as Amanda Seyfried, but
Yeah,
Ashley
overall I
Park
did like her.
also solid. But yeah, I just feel like there's too much that's like exactly the same and done
Yeah.
a little bit better in the original. Like I think maybe the main pointer is when, obviously you have probably like the big climax or turning point of the movie, which is where Tina Fey's character holds the session in the gym to teach junior girls how to treat each other. And I after this one, I went back and rewatched the same scene of the 2004, and it kind of looks the same aesthetically, but also I think her monologue is even better. Tina Fey's monologue is even better in the original because they also like um, discuss in that monologue like like girls casually calling each other sluts and stuff that felt important and still
Yeah.
feels timely for how high schoolers should treat each other, and here I just think it like hit hard even less in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because maybe it is less impactful in the new movie. Even though the new movie, they also like in the ending, I think it's in the last song, they straight up tell you the message of the movie, being like, be
Right.
empathetic, you don't know what's going on in other people's lives and blah blah blah. And maybe the fact that they tell it to us so directly, whereas, it's the whole show don't tell, right? Whereas maybe
Mhm.
the 2004 movie, like they're telling us, but they're mainly showing us. Whereas in the 2024 movie, they're telling us like, oh, and this is the message of the movie in case you didn't get it.
Yeah, definitely. I think when Tina Fey wrote that first movie, it was a lot wittier and it was a lot more special, even among other high school movies that we had gotten then.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest, like if I had to choose between one to rewatch now, I would still go back to the original, uh,
Yeah,
just because I
same.
think it flows better, and I think the messages definitely are told in a better way, like you said.
And the new
I
movie,
still
it did
think,
feel rushed at times too. I think to make room for the songs, they kind of speed things along, and so I like that the like Gretchen, like her breakdown, it feels like it happened so quickly. Whereas in the older movie, like you kind of see her break down over time.
if anything, it kind of speaks to that. That we had the least to say about Gretchen in this one, but like in terms of songs, which do we think are our favorites here?
Um, hmm.
I
I
could
mean,
probably
I'm
point out a
inclined to say
few.
one of the ones Janice sings just because I liked her voice the most. So the revenge song, like
Yeah.
I thought that one was okay. Some of the lyrics I thought were kind of silly, and same with Apex Predator, where some of the lyrics I maybe thought were silly, but I liked the overall sound of the song. And then same with Renee Rapp, her like Regina George song I liked. Uh, the songs Katie sings, like none of them stood out in my mind. Uh, the like sexy Halloween song, I thought that one was fun and it was fitting for the
Yeah.
character of Karen.
Yeah, if anything, like until the Apex Predator song, which I enjoyed, I was just thinking like, why aren't these songs a little funnier than they are? Because when you have a musical comedy, I think like if anything, the movie could have differentiated itself more by using the songs to its advantage, like from a
That's
lyrics
true.
perspective. And I think like from the cinematography perspective, there were some really long takes that I thought were cool. Um, that like the first movie didn't really do that
Hmm.
um, because it was more like to the point. But in terms of like lyrics, I thought definitely could have started out funnier. I do like the Apex Predator song. I like the Regina
Yeah.
George song. I'm reading it here. It's called "Someone Gets Hurt." And then also the sexy song. That's the name of the song, "Sexy," which is probably the funniest one because it's about
Yeah.
how like kind of balancing like feminism versus like dressing sexy in Halloween,
Yeah.
um, which is yeah probably my favorite song here. And like you said, anytime Auli'i Cravalho sings, because that combined with the performance, I think she just
Mm.
gave such an effortless energy to the movie.
Yeah. Agreed. I my least favorite, not to hate on Gretchen, but her song in the closet is kind of like, and I saw
Yeah.
in the stage musical she has like a reprise to that song. But I get we're seeing like, how she has low confidence and that's why she allows herself to be bullied by Regina and whatever. But I thought that song was kind of nothing special.
Yeah, so I've talked to people who saw it on stage,
Mm,
and apparently, first of all, they replaced Katie's first song, which Renee Rapp wrote this one for the movie. And according to fans of the musical, this one's not as good. And then
interesting.
apparently, her other like song that she does on her own, the rendition here isn't as good. I don't know. Have you seen it on stage?
Mm-mm. No.
Because for some reason now I really want to after watching the movie. If
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah, same. I wonder, I don't know if this or The Color Purple are like still running, but I would think after the movies are out that I would think they would put it on Broadway again if it's not right now, because I'm sure there's a resurgence of people being interested.
yeah, honestly, I feel like Mean Girls is popular enough that they would still have it running, but I don't know
Yeah.
anything for a fact. I remember a
Yeah.
long time ago, probably when it started, like someone was posting somewhere that like Tina Fey would come out and like surprise the audiences after the show ended. So that was probably like when it right away started, but
Yeah.
it's probably still showing in places, even if it's not like on Broadway. It's probably got its following somewhere because I feel like
Yeah.
the musical was really acclaimed.
Yeah.
Um, so you did your video and talked about both versions of the film as well as the book, which I haven't read, but it's called Queen Bees and Wannabes. Could you talk a little about what the book is about and how it inspired the movies? Because they're probably very different.
Yeah, the book is a self-help book actually. And I read that Tina Fey, like the studio wanted someone to adapt this book, and I read that Tina Fey like signed on to adapt it. And then she realized it was a self-help book and she was like, "Oh, what?" And so she did a fantastic job though because the book, it's a serious book, like guiding parents through these different phases that girls go through from ages like 12 to their late teens. And she talks about different scenarios and different personality types and different situations. And, she talks about girl world and what girls are going through and how you can help support them. And so Tina Fey takes a lot of these different scenarios that are described in the book and then she puts them in the movie. Like the book talks about cliques and each of the personality types within a clique. And then we see that within the plastics and the different personalities, as well as like what happens at teen parties and all the drama that goes down. And we see that as well. Um, she also talks about, like bullying. Oh, and also the author, she holds seminars in schools and she gets girls together and they do different activities like we see in the movie where Tina Fey gets all the girls together. So that whole scene comes from the book as well. And so, yeah, it was just, I thought it was a really clever way for Tina Fey to take this self help book and then turn it into a comedy story that still has like a positive message. But yeah, it's definitely not a direct adaptation.
Yeah. It's very like exaggerated too, because in this version,
Yeah.
there's like a part where I think it's Regina George. She like walks to lunch and wearing sweatpants. It's like everyone's looking at her and filming her and judging her. I'm like, in real life, if you come somewhere with sweatpants, that's just normal. Like you shouldn't be embarrassed.
I mean, I feel like also these days, like in my neighborhood, I see teens wearing pajama pants all the time, like out and about. So I feel like styles these days also, like no one would think anything about that. But it's
Yeah.
funny because the plastics, their dress code also comes straight from the book where she quotes a teen, and this teen is sharing her clique's dress code, and it is exactly what the plastics dress code is. So that was funny.
That's it. Yeah, they're definitely, I guess, at the extreme, like and like managing to keep up like the same colors on the same days of the week.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if you'll find many clicks who go to that extreme.
And I feel
Um,
like in the book, I think it was a girl in her younger teens who did this. So I feel like when you're a younger girl, you might be like, oh, we kind of see this in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, where they're like, to be part of this
right.
friend group, you can't wear socks, you have to do this. Like they create rules. But I feel like once you get to the Mean Girls age, because they're like 16 or 17, I feel like in reality, girls wouldn't still keep to those rules. So I do think that is like a younger thing. So,
Mhm. When we're on that topic, I do want to say quick shout out to Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, because I grew up reading a lot of the Judy Blume books, and I think this is the first like real prominent adaptation, and I thought it was a wonderful movie.
oh, as far
But
as final thoughts, yeah, this has been fun talking about these. And yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon. That's that and May December and Anatomy of a Fall. From what I've seen, those were three of my favorite movies from last year. So May December only got one nomination, and I doubt that'll win. But I'm hoping Anatomy
yeah,
of a Fall take home at least a couple awards. I know Oppenheimer. That's the one I'm worried is just going to win everything, and so I'm hoping that the awards are spread out at least a little bit. And Color Purple, like we said, I don't think Danielle Brooks is going to end up winning, so it's unfortunate that this one probably won't take home any wins. But yeah, I guess time will tell.
yeah, for real. Definitely shout out also May December and Anatomy of a Fall. Um, Anatomy of a Fall also made my top 10 this year, and then May
Yeah,
December weird it got no acting nominations, especially for Charles Melton because he was
yeah.
one of the best performances of the year. But
Oh man, yeah, he
I
was
could we
fantastic.
could go on about that, huh?
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah,
So yeah,
so
to
Killers is like my main, well, and Anatomy of a Fall because that has a number of nominations. So those two are like my main hope that you know, I would love to see them take home some of the bigger awards.
yeah, I could see Anatomy of a Fall in original screenplay even.
Yeah.
Now that Barbie's out of the way,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of ways that could go
Yeah.
when it comes
Do
to
you
writing.
think, as far as best picture, which are you leaning towards? Like, not you personally, but which do you think will predict? Do you think is going to win?
I think it's looking safe for Oppenheimer right now. Um,
Yeah,
if there's like anything that could come in at the last second, it would probably be either American Fiction or Poor Things.
true.
But it's looking safe for Oppenheimer for now because it has the most nominations and
And it's
long
been
overdue
winning.
for Nolan. Yeah, winning a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm assuming too.
Um, but yeah, definitely Anatomy of a Fall overperformed a little bit by getting in for like directing and editing, which I was really pleased by.
Hmm.
Because I wasn't expecting that. That movie was like
Oh man, it was
that
so
was a
good.
riveting movie.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, this has
so
been fun.
yeah, to wrap up, Laura, can you just tell the viewers where to find you on YouTube, Instagram, so on?
Yeah, so if you search Why the Book Wins on any of those platforms, I have YouTube, I have a TikTok, I have Threads, I have Instagram. Those are the ones I am most active on. Um, but yeah, I do book versus movie comparisons. And like I said, I have covered Killers of the Flower Moon, The Color Purple. I covered American Fiction, Mean Girls, Poor Things. I also covered. So seems like there's another new release. I've done Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I'm trying to focus more on covering new releases. It can be more work because I feel more of a time pressure and making a work to go see it in theaters, but it's been paying off because those are helping to grow my channel. So a lot of these Oscar nominated movies, a lot of them I have talked about, and I'm planning on covering All of Us Strangers because that was based on a book as well. So yeah, if you're curious about how the movies compare to the books, then definitely subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, thank you very much, Laura, and stay tuned for more Feature Fanatics content on here. I've been Gaul, and thank you again so much for our guest, and thank you to you guys for watching.